All right, cool. So here we go. You asked the question like, hey, I don't understand risk as it relates to that, risk responses and plans, and what do we do and when do we do it? Kind of
Right.
talk me through high level what's going on in your head. Like, talk me through the confusion, please.
I guess to me, when I look at like it's logical to identify risk. Of course,
Hmm.
it's a smart thing to do. So I understand the process, identifying risks, writing them down,
Hmm.
um, and even planning a response to a
Hmm.
certain degree. That's where I start to get fuzzy because I feel like, are we, there are some questions about, asking for a resource for a risk response for a
Hmm.
risk that hasn't even happened yet. So it just confuses me because I just think of how much work are we putting into planning for something that hasn't happened as opposed to just we know it's there and we have an
Hmm.
idea of what we might do about it. Because I mean, what if your risk list of risks is 100 risks long? You're going to take the time for every single thing to
Ooh.
to make a plan. It just feels like it's wrong to me, and maybe it's not wrong. Maybe I'm just thinking about the process wrong. Because then there's like then some of the questions are like, hey, a known risk has been identified.
Uh-huh.
Then there's the response plan. um, and then change requests come into it, and I'm like, well, wait, does the
So
change,
there's a
do I have to
lot,
do a
right?
change request to do
Dude,
a
you
risk
nailed down
response?
a lot of stuff. So let's just go
Right.
through it so I can know in my head. We got to identify them.
Yeah.
Man, that list could get long. Holy cowbells. Like,
Hmm.
whoa. Um, do we plan them all? Do we plan for them all? Plan for all? I can't write. Oh, that's a question. Like, how much time would that take? Oh my
Hmm.
gosh.
Hmm.
Like who the heck is gonna do it? Why
Right.
would we do it? Do we do it all the time? Oh my god, I don't
Hmm.
know. Then what happens? And are the people like all these things? Totally rational questions. Love them all. Because it's
Yeah.
like weird. Now, first killer thing as we go into this world is difference between a risk and an issue. So like
Correct.
that's the first like line of demarcation. We got risk versus issue before I dive deep into this. Like, so tell me the difference between those
Oh,
if you don't.
yeah, and I've got that down 100%. Like, a risk is
Nail it.
something that might happen, an issue is something that has happened.
Love
And
it.
that's where the questions get me confused because it's like a risk has been identified and the response plan, is going to happen. And I'm like, well, that's not a risk, that's an issue. Why are we
Okay.
wording it?
Hold on, pause that 1 second. So you said might and has, beautiful.
Right.
Then you said, talk me through that second half where you said, no, 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 that's an issue. Talk me through that, please.
Right. So, kind of the way the questions are worded is a risk has been identified, and we're going to respond to it. So, XYZ, whatever, however the question goes.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, well, then does it not get retitled as an issue? Because I feel like a risk has been identified. Okay. So it hasn't happened yet. So why are we acting upon it if it
Right.
hasn't
Okay.
happened yet?
Pause right there.
Okay.
Beautiful. Yeah. So you're good. So you've identified might and has happened. Like that iceberg has been hit. We're all gonna die. Like it's not good. All right. So up here, when we say like could hit an iceberg, could run out of iced tea, like
Yeah.
mutiny could happen, whatever. All these things on the Titanic that could have happened.
Right.
Um, those are things you're right that might happen. So we're gonna identify them, right? And then we're gonna
Mhm.
say, is it worth our time to think more about this? Like running
Okay.
out of iced tea, probably not a big
Mm,
deal. Running
that's
into
fine.
an iceberg, might want to think about it. All right.
Big deal.
And
Hmm.
so just the think about it part, like when we make that plan, like getting that like bullet in the gun that we're going to fire off or arrow that we're going to shoot off or whatever it is, doesn't make it a risk or an issue at that point. We know that it's like a potentiality, like you
Hmm.
said, not until we either get darn close to this iceberg,
Hmm.
some kind of condition has triggered in our head that, like, oh no, it's bad news day. It's happened. The gremlins have arrived. Like, does that become like this baby gets down. And once it passes this line, then yes, it matriculates, if that's a real word, I don't even know. It becomes an issue. So that risk germinates from a seed into like a plant of death, like an issue right there. So all that planning in our head, not until we crash into this wall does it become an issue. Then it gets its wings and it becomes an issue.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Or does that
makes perfect sense?
All right. So some of the things you said is like, dude, why, you didn't say dude, but like you said, why are we spending so much time doing this? Is that kind of like, and how much time should we spend?
Right. And kind of the way you laid it out there makes perfect sense. Like, you're going to measure the risk. If it's like you said, iced tea, I'm not going to waste a lot of time trying to figure out how we're going to deal with that. But if if it's a catastrophic event, yes, we need some sort of a plan in place to respond, so that makes perfect sense.
So awesome. And then the other thing is like, let's think about cost. Like if we go back to like all these processes and knowledge areas and stuff are all in a sense related. And if we were to get into it, then we would just like, our head would spin because we'd have resources and cost and quality and risk and all. So that's why they have like layers in a cake pulled them apart. So if we think through the quality side of this or the cost side of this, like which one of these things, like if we don't do this, any kind of planning up here, like, do you think that the cost and impact of these issues would be higher or lower than if we had planned for them? Like, I could answer that question better, but like, these are going to cost something. We hit an iceberg, it sucks. It's going to cost something.
Okay.
If we don't do this, like no work up here, we essentially save that time, save that money, whatever. Would these costs be bigger and the impact be greater, or would it be smaller if we did no work up front?
I think it depends on the risk.
Sure.
If you're worried about your iced tea and you spend 3 days planning, how you might replace that or whatever, then I don't think that would be worth the time investment up front. But definitely, your tactics on how to deal with an iceberg, that's a big deal. You're talking about your entire ship going down.
Yes.
So I think the cost of planning up front is well worth it as far as, in that scenario.
So really, when we walk this down, we know that like it isn't always higher cost here, but often it is. And so when we as project managers or thinkers or people that are guiding people, when we're calculating or advising people on where to spend their time here, what's the kind of internal analysis that we're doing? What would be the PMI type phrase or a regular world phrase for how we're allocating our time and our decision making here? What would that be called?
Is that, oh my gosh. Is that the probability? Oh, so it's not probability impact. Holy crap.
Look at the screen.
I can see it in my brain.
Can you see it on the screen?
I can see it.
There's a 4-letter word. It starts with a C.
Is that a cost?
There you go. I'm not real good at English or writing and stuff, but I can draw a little bit. The second word's a B word.
B. Nice. Benefit.
There you go.
Analysis.
See if I got the number of letters right. And then the last one is what?
Analysis.
There you go. I think I messed this one up. There we go. So we didn't hang ourselves. So really what you're doing is you're making an internal cost benefit or quality benefit or some kind of benefit analysis on where we should spend our time. Like if we're working in like nuclear reactor stuff, like those dudes and dudettes are like risk machines. Like, they are like, they got like failure modes, effect analysis. They've got all these things in super in depth. Like what could happen? They have dreamed up for great reason. Chernobyl, not a good day. Like
not so much.
Not a good day. Like Fukushima, don't want to repeat it. Like Newport News over here in Virginia Beach, those dudes and dudettes are like, they got it down. Best in the world. literal best in the world. And so they have all these things where they, for the risk, for the nuclear stuff, they've put a lot of thought into this stock. What have we learned? How are our approaches? What are the risks? How can we do it? How can we set layers so that we don't get to, you know, bad news bears over here, because it's gonna, we're all gonna die. But if it was the opposite, like maybe not. So it's all a cost benefit analysis there.
Of course.
Sweet. So, all right. So we got that there. What was the other things you asked about? Like at what depth and how do we apply people to them? So we kind of talked about the depth. Now let's talk about the actual plans. Like we have a risk. We think it's, you know, first thing we do is like you said, the first process is identify the risks. And then we're essentially going to like have a big bucket full of them. Great.
Right.
And that's a one-time activity that we do it, or what?
No, throughout the project.
No doubt. Beautiful.
Ongoing.
Always looking, because our understandings go better. And then we get into like evaluating them, like we said, that funnel thing where we do qualitative, where we're saying probability versus impact, cost benefit, like all those things. And we're ranking them. So we got an ordered list. So we got a big bucket here, ordered list. You know what I'm drawing. And then,
I do.
Yeah, and then the quantitative, we start to put the numbers behind them. We start seeing the risk profile of this entire project, right? And then the last thing is, how are we going to plan for these? So let's talk about that, like this part.
So can I ask a question about the funnel?
Yeah, man.
So the funnel, the top piece is this large group of you know, I don't know, items, right? This is your huge list. And as you
we're
go
just like,
down,
what could go wrong? What could go wrong?
Right.
What could go wrong? Tell us.
So as you go down, that list essentially is getting shorter, or you're not getting rid of items, but you're prioritizing.
So the list isn't beautiful question.
Okay.
Finish it out before I get rant.
Yeah, what I was thinking was it's not that we're throwing things out of the list, but we're chipping it down to like items that are worth our attention, if you will. Like, right?
Yes, like what? Yeah, okay. That's it, dude. Like, so the list starts out where it's just a big long list and you don't have any kind of concept of like, shoot, we're going to be here all year just processing this list.
Correct. Yeah.
So take a gamble, jump with me. In Agile, we got a bunch of ideas for like what we could do on the project. We have a backlog of them. What do we do with that backlog in Agile?
We look at it and see what are the things we can get done now, or what are the things that we're going to do now.
And what do we use to be that lens, but like what floats up in the Agile space of like what we will do now? Like what's the lens that we care about?
Oh, value?
Yeah, like what the customer cares about, or what?
Yeah, what's most important?
Deliver goodness to the customer. Yeah.
Right.
So it's the same model. Got a big long list. Got to figure out what matters most, because time is finite and money costs money. And so same thing here. We start out with like, imagine all these things blue, and then we would go first step and we'd go, all right, so first thing is all blue. And then we go with, I don't know, like, shoot, I gotta get my thing. That's good. Then it's like green. Those are the ones we really care about. Then we got, you know what I'm saying? Yellow, the ones that we kind of care about. And then I'm going to use like an orange color because whatever. These are the ones that are less critical. Okay. So like that's what happens. Okay. So that's sweet. Now our eyes are focused here.
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of like with requirements when we're in user stories. We don't need in the user story sense. This could be the same thing for a backlog. If I do a backlog lesson, I'm going to draw the same picture. It's weird. Project management seems to be easy in theory. Like, right. And so we're not going to spend, these might be whatever, and we might have to think about them later, but we don't think criticality is there, or it's very, very low.
Okay.
We're not going to spend our time right now doing it because we got other stuff to do.
Right. So question, this list, that's our risk register.
Correct.
Right?
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
So then, we're planning for green, Yellow is okay, maybe, and then orange is it's just on the list, right? Let's just
Yes, ma'am.
say, and then we go down and hey, a risk has been identified. I know that's the first thing, right? We go back and check the risk register. Is it on there? So am I thinking about that right? So we're just gonna go, hey, is this on the list that we made? And what did we talk about when we made the list?
Yeah, because like
Okay.
think about like when we bump into something, when something happens, when like, oh no, like I used to work in like ships where there's like processes for everything, like how to do something. Like you would own the ship for 24 hours. Like you would be the guy that respond to all the risks or all the issues. Like a literal alarm goes off and it happens all the time. But like in the middle of the night, it goes off, you run down in the
Mhm.
ship and you're like, oh my God, it's 2:30 in the morning. I don't know what's going on. I'm so scared in your head. This is what I said to myself. I was like, please let me fix this issue because everybody's gonna laugh at me. But there's a process for it. Like a
Right,
lot of the things you either know or there's like, how do I do this? And there's like steps. Oh, turn this valve, change this thing, do this, whatever. The
right,
problem's avoided. And then if this don't work, call the chief. Chief,
right.
we're in trouble, bro. Please come down,
Okay.
help me. So that's so if I had to make up the process when it was there, we'd probably sunk that ship. But like at this point, it's like, boom, it happened. Let's go to the book.
Okay.
We got it. Sweet. We got the instructions. Let's damn sure hope it works. We got the money laid aside for it. We got the people laid aside for it. We can go to work and maybe we save ourselves.
Okay.
So yes, you were thinking about it correctly.
Okay.
Now, when we think through these, so there's another thing like with this quantitative thing, we're going to take a look at this list as we start to flesh it out and go, God, this is a really risky project, dude. Like if
Mhm.
all these greens come home, this is in trouble. And that just kind of like, since we could mathematically figure out like what the probability is and all that stuff, but like from a high level, we're looking at it and go like, if all our chickens negative ish risk come home to roost, how bad is it going to be? And then we could ask our people, be like, yo, I just want you to know this is super duper risky for these reasons. You cool? You cool with it? And they might
Right.
be or might not. I mean, it's just a conversation. Then, planning will ensue. No, I understand. This is what it's like, or we work through it.
Okay.
But then the thing I think you were getting at is down at the bottom. So, like,
Yeah.
talk me through like your understanding of like what we're doing for these. Are we just saying, oh, we got these risks, Joe's going to handle it, or what are we doing with these? Not the ones there, but like the green ones that we're planning for. Like, what are we doing at the
Right.
bottom?
Well, and I think it's like you said with, your ship example, you have a process in place.
Mhm.
So if that list of green items, any of those happens, each one of those, because those are your higher higher impact, right? Those are
Mhm.
the higher impact to your project, and they need to be, you know, it it's not a thing you can plan for when it happens, because by the time it happens, you need to act immediately, or you may lose your project, right? Or whatever your goal is.
Yep.
So for each of those green lines, you come up with a plan. What when and I'm thinking that's where you assign the risk owner,
Yes,
and then
ma'am.
the risk owner knows what the triggers are. How do I see and know this risk?
Mm-hmm.
And then the response, if the risk owner says, hey, these triggers happened,
Mm-hmm.
comes back to, I guess, the project manager or whatever, hey, these triggers are here. I think this, and that's where it gets, I'm like, is the risk going to happen? Has it happened? Do we wait for it to happen? You know?
Now, so beautiful. So
Hmm.
first of all, like, let's before we talk, I'll hold that in my brain.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then the next thing is when we do this, and you said like, oh, these are the big ones. Like, it could be the ones that really like are super, super critical, like the
Right.
impact is giant, but it could
Correct.
also be like these like mid-range ones that are just like gonna happen, like gnat or mosquitoes, like bang, bang, bang. They're
Oh,
gonna hit
sure.
us.
Hmm.
Getting stung by mosquitoes, we're gonna get malaria or whatever. So like let's whatever. Like so let's figure out how to do that. So it's a probability impact cost benefit kind of analysis. But I get your point. So down here, it's like, do we wait for the ship to hit the iceberg, or do we like I can't do anything till we hit this iceberg or not.
Oh,
Like,
we're going to
does that make
turn. Yeah,
what would
when
you?
we see the iceberg, we're going to adjust course, right? To go around it.
Yeah. So you guys like make a decision on each
Mhm.
one of them.
Okay.
Like in go back to the iced tea example. Like in a production line or a logistics supply chain, they
Mhm.
have reorder points and stuff.
Right.
Essentially, that's a risk response. Like we could run out of iced tea, like reorder at 100 units or something
Oh,
like that.
okay. Yeah, yeah, got it.
And so, boop, it does it. Okay, we know the response. Go to the things, get them to print it out, or make the tea, do the whatever,
Mhm.
can it, bottle it, whatever. Then send it. We know it's going to take 15 days, but to calculate it, we're going to get there in time. Sweet, because we don't want to get there. We're at iced
Right.
tea. Then people freak out. We lose business.
Is this
Then we
where we
want to grab
come up
shit.
with the accept, mitigate,
There you go.
transfer, what are we
So
going to
so
actually do?
now it's like we have a risk. Yep, it's worthwhile. It's
Mhm.
like we care about it. Now what?
Okay.
And then from there, we either go there's a couple, it's like choose your own adventure. Like there's a
Okay.
couple different strategies. And they've kind of laid these out really well because these are the different things that we could do.
Okay.
Like, first thing we could do is just go, whatever, dude.
Nothing. Yeah.
My brother, just anecdotally, is like so lucky. And this dude I went to college with named Chuck, he's like, they call him Good Luck Chuck. Like, it don't matter what happens. Like, the coin always goes heads for him. So a
Yeah.
lot of times, Good Luck Chuck would be like, dude, I don't care. This ship's probably gonna look better with no paint. I don't give a shit. Like, and so he might go, I'm just gonna accept this risk. Like, it's gonna happen. The Lord's by my side. We're gonna be all right. And they're just gonna accept it, and we ain't gonna do nothing. Like,
Okay.
and then a lot of us be like, dude, that's why they call you Good Luck Chuck and they don't call me that. So like, I ain't doing that. What would you do? Like what's another strategy if we have one that we really care about, but we want to do something? Like if we don't want to do accept, what could we do?
I mean, my favorite word is mitigate.
All right, mitigate. And what does that mean?
Uh, um, we're going to lessen the effect, if you will. So the thing happens, we're going to try to reduce the impact to the project or to the piece of it that it affects.
Mm-hmm. And that's how people use. I think a lot of people usually think of like risk, mitigating risk.
Yeah,
Like that's a natural
literally.
like in our
Yeah.
brain.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of situations, that might be the right thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
can you think of an example where you're like, oh, I can mitigate this? Can you think of any example?
Off the
I'm
top of my
sorry to
head.
put you on the thing.
No, it's all right. Off the top of my head, I'm just thinking of like, um, I don't know. Hey, I know my front door water used to come in all the time when it rained until they fixed it. But when it would rain, I'd put towels in front of the door so less water would come in. So water would still come in, but less water
do
would
you
come in.
do you like that solution?
No, it's terrible.
Right,
'Cause
but it lowered the impact of the situation in that situation, so it's okay. I mean,
correct.
like
Yeah,
in that, but it gets us through the night, maybe, or the day, or whatever.
absolutely. Got us
So,
through the
but there's
night.
certain situations that like maybe it's a passing thing or it's not that big. Where hey, let's just mitigate it. Let's lower the risk because maybe
Right.
there's no way to take it off the table or anything like that. But mitigate
Yeah.
might be the right thing. But let me ask you another one. Would mitigation be the right strategy in Fukushima?
Geez, no.
Geez, no is
No.
right. The answer. We don't want
No.
people that are half dead. Like,
Oh, that's not a
we're
thing.
talking about kids and kids and kids. Like,
Yeah.
with we're hurting the universe. Like,
Mhm.
so no. We don't want to do that. So it's like the right key for the right lock.
Right.
Mitigate works sometimes, accepts the
Mhm.
right thing to do sometimes.
Mhm.
Now, if we want to go the total other way, we're like, dude, this is unacceptable. I can't have this happen. What would that be?
Um, golly, words.
It's
um,
all right.
The only other one I could think of is to transfer, but we're not doing. I know it starts with a A.
Let's go with it. We'll go where the market takes us.
Okay.
Transfer. Like,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
And that's like buying an insurance policy. You're going to give it to someone else. Maybe you hire a contractor to take care of it, or you
Yes.
purchase insurance on the, our ship might hit an iceberg, so we're going to insure it so that we can pay off all the people's families,
Jesus. Yeah, that technically is what they do. And you know what they also do? Like, I live in Virginia on the coast, and there's a Chesapeake Bay. It's sweet over here, but it's a treacherous. Not treacherous. Yeah, it's treacherous. I crash in ships. Like, there's a path through it, and every day those ships come in, they come out. Commerce, beautiful.
Yeah.
And they never crash. And you know how
Yeah.
they don't crash?
They plan.
Well, they plan, and they also have a dude called a harbor pilot. I'll draw Virginia. This is the Chesapeake Bay. That's the water. There's like, it's called the Delmarva Peninsula. This is Virginia. Like, they come in from the ocean. Everything's hard to get in a wreck in the ocean. There ain't nothing out there but ocean. Like, and so, but when they get into here, things get a little weird because it's a channel. There's sandbars. They're always changing. There's wind, there's rain, there's dark, fog. Like, when they come in, they go, all right, dude, I'm going to pay some money for this little boat to drive out, drop off a dude right here. He's called a harbor pilot. And this dude knows nothing more than every single thing about all of this.
Oh.
He takes on the ship and he goes, left 15, half mast. He tells him exactly what to do, and he steers them in like white glove service, and they dock, they get their stuff, and then they go out. He gets off, goes back home, and they go, well worth the money. Like, and they say that's what they do because they know crashing, bad. Suez Canal, bad. Like, I don't know who was involved with that one. I don't know what the situation was. There's the Suez pilots. Those dudes are awesome.
Yeah.
But shit, that stuff would, if they didn't have a dude, if it was just me driving through, it probably would happen more often. So that's transfer.
Avoid is the other word.
What's that?
Avoid is the other one.
Avoid. That is the other one.
Yeah.
What does avoid mean?
I was thinking of avoiding the iceberg, right? So the things out there, I want to steer away from it somehow.
So like, take the chance of the risk away. Like we're not going in iceberg lanes. We're not doing this. We're just taking it. It's no longer a risk. So like, we're taking actions to like have it not be there. So that's cool. And in certain situations, like, that's what we have to do. Or certain preparations or changes in process, whatever, so that it's not on the table. Last thing is, what's the other one?
Escalate.
Escalate. I gotta find another color. And what does that mean?
You're just gonna send it up the chain to, someone above you, the product owner or the project sponsor, so that they can address it. I guess. I don't know what they do.
They do something. I mean, they maybe like escalate and then they come up with another strategy. But you're raising it up. So like in my ship example, issue in the middle of the night, like the risk has come to fruition. We have a process for it, so it's not. Some of them we just go, like, literally. Some of them we just go, cancel the alarm. Like, silence it. This is like literally that happens sometimes. Like, no big deal. Like, whatever. Like, it's either a false alarm or it's not a big deal and we can deal with it or something like that. It happens occasionally, but just because you can't hit silence doesn't mean you should. Like, just all engineers out there, bad. Like, because sometimes you're like, shit. Like, if I don't answer this in like 5 minutes or whatever it was, everybody gonna know about it. So I'm turning it off so that I buy myself a little bit of time. But then sometimes it's like, I got to call the chief. I got to call him and say, like, dude, I'm in trouble. And he might tell us, okay, the way you mitigate this is blah, blah, blah. Or don't worry about it. Scott will handle it in the morning. Or like, turn it off. Or I don't know. Or he might have something. But somebody with a bigger brain than us, or like more opportunity to take it or use his influence or whatever, is there. So yeah, that's how we do it.
Okay.
Now,
So
so
this is
we've got that.
planning, right? All of this is part of planning the risk response, right?
Right. And then
Okay.
like you also told me that this is a nonstop, never-ending activity.
Correct.
So it kicks off in planning, but it just you're continually doing. So you're getting the heavy lists going. You're doing a lot of this stuff, and then like let's assess them. Let's keep them going. Oh, we got some new ones. Let's throw them on there. Is it worth our time? Do we need to figure it out? So like the
Right.
bulk of the work is up front, but in the
Right.
never-ending like maintenance, if you will,
Right.
continues through the game.
But on your funnel, how you have plan at the bottom, this
Mm-hmm.
is where we're at on your funnel, right? We're in the plan
Oh yes, yeah.
part.
We're down at
Okay.
the bottom, like coming
Okay.
up with ways to deal with this stuff.
So these are the ones that make it make it to the bottom, if you will, of the
Mm-hmm.
funnel for, hey, you merit an action if you happen,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And
Okay.
just because you just because they're on the list, like we do not have perfect ability to see the future.
Of
Maybe you do.
course. I'm
So we're gonna
I'm
have
not
things on there that are gonna be, I can't do the three colors because David, like just say green, yellow, red, or whatever. Like
Mhm.
sometimes the bad one happens.
Right.
Sometimes the unlikely one happens, the black swan event. Like we're caught off guard, we might know it, or something that's outside happened. Like, oh no, we never thought about this. Like
Mhm.
it happens.
Sure.
What do you think we're going to do? Like our options are probably limited
Of
because we
course.
haven't thought about it,
Mhm.
but we're probably going to go through the list. Do nothing, try to lessen it. Like, what did I say? Take the risk. Why did I say take risk
Take
chance? Take
I think you
off the
just forgot
table,
to
like something like
yeah.
that. Get help by somebody else, hire somebody, get higher up help. When it comes, even if it ain't in the green section, we
Mhm.
still got to go through this thinking process. It's just like now we can't do nothing because it's here.
Right.
Or now we can't avoid it because it's here. We can't get people here in time. Nobody knows anything about it. Like,
Mhm.
well, let's try to keep from dying or something
For
like
sure.
that. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. And then we learn next time. Maybe we should plan for this stuff.
Okay.
So there we go. And then like the way to think about, so we've talked about, yes, at the bottom of the funnel planning, we're doing all this stuff. When they come here, if we haven't thought about them, oh God, we got to through this process. We're going to do it continuously through here. Keep the list tight. Keep it in
Mhm.
people's minds.
Mhm.
Like it might change the way people are thinking about the project. Like I've got to be aware. I should raise my hand. I
Mhm.
should get people like uh seeing what I think I see and
Mhm.
talking. So it's not a
Mhm.
better exercise. Then as we go through there, and we like that's all technically people will say, well, we just do that in planning. And then when executing and monitoring controlling come,
Mhm.
like, so we do all that funnel work, the mass of it here,
Mhm.
whatever. So we got a risk register, it looks like a carrot now with all the plans. Sweet. Now, what do we do with it? Like, talk to me about
Right.
like picture wise, like what's going on? Like, it's a cool
That's
list.
yeah, that's my next I mean during executing I I mean I monitor risks makes sense that it belongs in monitor and controlling is the word
Mm-hmm.
monitor, but like identify risks is or no, that's in place. See, I don't know. All
You
it's
do know. You do know. It's just like, here's the thing. Like, it feels like a progression this way, left to right, like planning, executing, mind controlling. Can't
right,
go there till you go there. But in
right.
reality, when you pass this little line,
Mhm.
that's a terrible, I tried to make it on top of there. You have a foot in both of these, like technically,
So you're doing them
immediately
at the same time to a
at the
certain
same
degree.
time.
Okay. Well, that
So you
makes
got a
sense
foot
because
in both.
you're doing things, but you're also monitoring them.
Yes. So your
Okay.
eyes are like you're making sure that the team is doing stuff here,
Mhm.
but you're like turn your head real quick and you're looking and seeing like how's it going? How's it going? How's it going? And then from the risk, so how does that translate to the risk register and stuff? Like if we got our feet in both sides, how does it translate for us?
So yeah, I'm still just sort of stuck on monitor risks, which is like monitor and control.
Mm-hmm.
I don't risk response
Mm-hmm.
would probably, yeah.
So you're doing great. So the one thing, like so say we get done with this.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any risk responses to put into place yet because
Correct.
nothing's happened. Like,
Right.
so what we got to do is be like that dude sitting on the front of the ship, like
Mm-hmm.
just looking for icebergs. So we are going to look for risks, like new risks, and then like that the risk trigger conditions have happened. Dude, I see that iceberg.
Right.
Dude, I see we are almost at iced tea. Like whatever it is, we're looking for risks,
Okay.
like new risks or trigger conditions, like that the things that we plan for down here have come home. Bad news.
Okay.
Now, new ones, I'm getting ready. This thing's getting ready to get dirty. Like we go back to the game.
Has to go
Throw
back.
them in, think about them, whatever.
Okay.
If they have happened, they go to the risk register and they go, we've planned for this. Do it. Like do stuff.
Okay.
Whatever we
So
planned.
that's the risk response is actually
That's the risk
under
response.
executing because you're executing a response.
That's why you spent that time planning and drilling and writing them down and planning somebody, put some money aside for it and all that stuff. So that we don't have to run around with our head cut off.
Right. Where does the change control part of this? Just like seriously, there was a question that was like something about you're going to respond to a risk.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer was like to go to change control. I'm like, why am I doing that? Is it because our response changed a baseline?
Well, let's think about that. That's the next thing. So we'll go to the green.
Okay.
So like when we're planning here, all these risks, let me ask just a fundamental question about life. Is anything in life free?
No.
Right. Bernie Sanders is wrong, guys. Nothing is free. And so nothing's free. So these risk responses technically cost money. It costs money to think about them. And then the what we're going to do risk responses cost money. So we should allocate money for those risks.
Correct. Contingency reserves.
Yep. And so if we think about our all the money we have, like activity costs, the cost to do the job, activity cost, then we throw on top of that some cash, and then that cash is called contingency reserve, and that is the money that is attributable to what?
Risk.
To these things. Yes. To these things. And it's kind of like a mishmash of like what we think the overall cost would be, like how much is going to cover if all these things come home, and you calculate and you put stuff aside so that it's all there. Assignable risk, known unknowns. We know they're going to happen. We pray it doesn't happen, but they could. We just don't know if it's going to come. So all that is within the what?
The cost baseline.
The cost baseline, which is the accepted, hey, this is what we think it's going to cost to do the work, to deal with the bad news that we know that's coming. So when these babies come home, the trigger ones, we just yank money out of this bank and allocate it to the thing and pay for it. Now, if new stuff comes out, what we got to do? Can we pull money out of this little bank right here if new stuff comes out?
It wasn't planned for, so no.
Correct. So what we got to do?
You got to spend money that's outside of your baseline. Management reserves.
Management reserves. And so that's unknown unknowns. Oh, goodness me, we didn't know. So we wouldn't want to violate, theoretically, if we're holding to a baseline, which is the accepted, we would want to violate that off things that we just didn't plan for.
Right.
We would want to say, hey, change request going, and we get the money, and then maybe the baseline changes or whatever. We get the money. We get somebody's approval for it. And we go and do. So that's just how the money goes. And this total thing is the budget, like all these things together. So that's pretty sweet.
Okay.
And then the last thing is, so how I'm just going to erase too much and we'll be So we started doing, we're gonna erase it all pretty much. We started doing stuff, risk responses. Good enough to stop there or what?
Like once we've done the risk response?
Yeah, we had a plan for this. Like, is that where the game ends? Like we do, I know we're gonna keep looking for new risks, stuff like that. Risk response, throw an S in there.
Well, we have to make sure our response worked, right?
I would hope so. Check. It worked.
And then did our response trigger something else? You know, did we change something else that may need to be adjusted?
Gosh. This sounds really like I want to change my job, right? It's like this sucks. Like this sucks. Yes, but that's the cycle. It never ends. Like, yes, we do the thing we spent the time planning for. Awesome. On the ship, middle of the night, running down. Okay, I know how to handle this problem. Bang. I'm going to do the steps, turn the valve, hit the blah, 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 whatever. Is the water level going down? Isn't the water level going down? Good thing. Like, yeah, it's going down. Okay, sweet. But then, oh shit, like something else is happening. Like it's overwhelming the electrical system or something. Who knows? So like, yeah, we start either, and some of these things might not be like, you know, like in life and work, there's like, just do it. And then there's like, we got to plan for it. Some of these things might be like, oh no, an unintended consequence, fix it. Like just do it. That might happen. Or it might be like, okay, it seems to have an effect on this. We're wearing out this pump. Like we're putting a lot of work on it because we're having to do this every night. Oh no, that's a risk. Should we put this back in there? What would happen if to roll this water level down every night or whatever? What if the pump fails now? What are we going to do then? Do we need to do periodic maintenance on it? Do we need to do other things? Do we have two pumps? Do we need to, like, I don't know, cut a hole in the ship? Whatever it is, like, what do we need to do? So as long as you're thinking,
right,
you're probably okay. Like, and you're getting people involved so that this cycle continues.
Right. So here's a offshoot question, I guess, for that. So you have your known unknown. You plan for it, you contingency reserve for it, it happens, you spend money on it. That causes another issue. What is that? That's a cost baseline effect, right? Because you didn't, that's not included in your contingency reserve, even though it was created as a result of a risk response. Or is that just stop going down the rabbit hole?
Violate. So if we look at like, if we look at like our like plan, let's just assume that like plan value and then like actual cost, like or I should I prefer to do plan value as a different color. We're starting again. We're gonna do it as earned value. Like our plan value is blue. That's like what we should be done or should whatever. Then our actual cost, let's call it red. Like there's like right here. Oh no, we're having to respond to stuff. It goes way up here. If we were to change the baseline, I don't want to draw another line, but the blue line would change and go like up here a little bit or something like that.
Okay.
But like, just because we had to spend the money, sometimes we just spend the money, like to respond, to overspend on things that cost more. So our actual cost is going to raise above that. And then like from an earned value standpoint, like any deviation between here and there is like a cost variance. And like, we're in a negative way. Like we're over what we thought because of all these risks or all these issues that popped up, risks we didn't know about, issues we popped up, whatever. It's assignable at that time and we can figure out what to do with it.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah.
Maybe. Sweet. So you see how like the thing that's cool about this is like all these things are relatively related. Now the hard part is like how to make them all related in your own brain. The good thing is I get to think about this stuff all the time, but like we brought in cost, we brought in quality, we brought in I don't know, iced tea, all this different stuff. And so we're good there. Now, let me just tell you, like, oopsie, hold on. My big close got messed up. Hold on. If you understand, God, I should choose shorter words. What we talked about, good enough. And that's like kind of a weak way to say you're going to kill it. Like, kill it, you will kill it on the exam. You're going to do good. That's how Yoda would say it. Kill it, you, I think. But you're going to do really, really well. If you understand that and you go like, yo, I got to plan early. I got to get that list prioritized. I got to spend my time on the stuff, what it is. I got to come up with the right key that fix this issue when it occurs. The risk becomes an issue. I got money tied to it. So sweet. Everybody knows about it now because it's in the baseline. Sweet. We got the money that's ready to roll. I got my foot in both levels. I got my team out there looking for it. I got people looking for new risks. We're talking about them. We're putting them on the list. I got the people looking out for their risk. So as a project manager, you might feel like, I'm not in this alone anymore. I got people looking out and for our best interests. Sweet. And we know basically that we can probably work ourselves out of this. Cool. And then once we do that, we just keep the game going. And then we say, did our thing work? Our response, either it did or it didn't. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. That's it.
Excellent.
Risk. Done.
Makes a lot more sense. You know, I think I'm too literal with some of the words. Actually, I know I'm too literal with the words. It's my problem.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, here's the thing, like, and we'll get off this one because we got like, this is the first. We've been doing this for like 15 minutes, whatever, but we covered a lot of topics.
We did.
If we just looked at the IDOs and we dove into like a couple of these and we tried to only hold our brain to these, well, it says it on the paper or it doesn't say it on the paper.
Right.
We would hold our mind like hostage.
Correct.
To like experiment or think.
Right.
And the PMBOK never talked about iced tea. The PMBOK never talked about ships. The PMBOK never talked about Fukushima. None of that stuff. I love the PMBOK. It's a first step to like you taking what you already know and putting it into practice.
Right.
So
yeah. Don't
discount your literalness. Like you're thorough in your thoughts.
Good. Right. But I think I think about when they say risk versus issue, you know, I don't think of risk as an action. I think of risk as a plan. And then I think of issue as an action. You know, like risk is the thing that might happen, issue is the thing that did happen. But a risk doesn't always have to become an issue because like you said, when you're not going to wait for the ship to hit the iceberg and then do something, you're going to adjust before it becomes an issue because you don't want that to become an issue. You want to take away that action, that activity where it doesn't happen. We literally don't want this to happen because we'll die. So that's where when I'm reading the questions and I see risk, my brain automatically says, all right, so it's a thing that hasn't happened and we're not doing anything about it. And that's not really true. And so I have to get that because that's why I'm taking the word risk literally. Literally, this might happen. So we're not actually doing anything. That's not true necessarily.
But like planning is a thing.
Absolutely.
Preparing is a thing.
Absolutely.
Like the Continental Army or whatever was like, I don't know, I don't know, one of those stories they teach you in school, like don't shoot till you see the whites of their eyes.
Right.
I ain't a military guy, but like, I guess it works. I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't know. But like they were set up, defended. I don't know what they were doing. And they had a strategy, like don't shoot these dudes till you see the whites of their eyes or whatever. Like they did something and then they did something. Like,
Right.
but I mean, sometimes you're right. Like steering away from the killer whale, like keeps you from getting eaten or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So there we go. All right. I think we have exhausted this one. You're
I
going to be
think we
fine.
killed risk. Yeah.
We killed risk. Reach out to us. You can email me at scott@pmmasterprep.com. You can call me, text me, or you can go on the website, hit the Accelerator application button, and get in there and get some help. All right, so good lesson. Talk to you later. Adios, muchachos.